The rest of Esther chapter 10. Then Mardochæus said, God hath done these things. For I remember a dream, which I saw concerning these matters, and nothing thereof hath failed. A little fontaine became a ruer, and there was light, and the sun, and much water. This ruer is Esther, the king married and made queen. And the two dragons are I and Ammon. And the nations were those that were assembled, to destroy the name of the Jews. And my nation is this Israel, which cried to God and were sought, for the Lord hath sought his people, and the Lord hath delivered verses from all those Yules, and God hath wrought signes, and great wonders, which have not been done among the Gentiles. Therefore hath he made 2 lots, one for the people of God, and another for all the Gentiles. And these 2 lots came at the hour, and time, and day of judgment before God amongst all nations. So God remembered his people, and justified his inheritance. Therefore those days shall be until them in the month Adar, the 14th and 15th day of the same month, with an assembly, and joy, and with gladness, before God, according to the generations for year among his people.
Chapter 11. In the 4th year of the reign of Ptolemaeus, and Cleopatra Lysitheus, who said he was a priest and Levite, and Ptolemaeus his son brought this epistle of Urim, which they said was the same, and that Lysimachus the son of Ptolemaeus, that was in Jerusalem, had interpreted it. In the 2nd year of the reign of Artaxerxes the Great, in the 1st day of the month Nisan, Mardochæus the son of Jairus, the son of Shimei, the son of Sisei of the tribe of Benjamin, had a dream. Who was a Jew and dwelt in the city of Susa, a great man, being a servitor in the king's court. He was also one of the captives which Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, carried from Jerusalem with Iconius king of Judea, and this was his dream. Behold, a noise of a tumult with thunder, and earthquakes, and roar in the land. And behold, 2 great dragons came forth ready to fight, and their cry was great. And at their cry all nations were prepared to battle, that they might fight against the righteous people. And lo, a day of darkness and obscurity, tribulation, and anguish, affliction, and great roar upon the earth. And the whole righteous nation was troubled, fearing their own ills, and were ready to perish. Then they cried unto God, and found their cry, as it were from a little fontaine, was made a great flood, in much water. The light and the sun rose VP, and the lowly were exalted, endured the glorious. Now when Mardochæus, who had seen this dream, and what God had determined to do, was awake, he bare this dream in mind, and till night by all means was desirous to know it.
Chapter 12. And Mardochæus took his rest in the court with Gabbatha, and Thera, the 2 eunuchs of the king, and keepers of the palace. And he heard their devices, and searched out their purposes, and learned that they were about to lay hands upon Artaxerxes the king, and so he certified the king of them. Then the king examined the 2 eunuchs, and after that they had confessed it, they were strangled. And the king made a record of these things, and Mardochæus also wrote thereof. So the king commanded Mardochæus to seru in the court, and for this he rewarded him. Howbeit Ammon the son of Ammedattus the Agagite, who was in great honor with the king, sought to molest Mardochæus and his people, because of the 2 eunuchs of the king.
Chapter 13. The copy of the letters was this. The great King Artaxerxes write these things to the princes and governors that are after him from India unto Ethiopia in 120 provinces. After that I became Lord o'er many nations, and had dominion o'er the whole world, not lifted VP with presumption of my authority, but carrying myself alway with equity and mildness, I purpose to set up my subjects continually in a quiet life, and making my kingdom peaceable, and open for passage to the most coasts, to renew peace which is desired of all men. Now when I asked my counselors how this might be brought to pass, a man that excelled in wisdom among verses, and was proud for his constant goodwill, and steadfast fidelity, and had the honor of the 2nd place in the kingdom, declared Vento verses, that in all nations throughout the world there was scattered a certain malicious people that had laws contrary to all nations, and continually despised the commandments of kings, so as the fitting of our kingdoms honorably intended by verses cannot go forward. Seeing then we understand that this people alone is continually in opposition Vento all men, differing in the strange manner of their laws, and you'll affect it to our state, working all the mischief they can, and our kingdom may not be firmly established. Therefore how we commanded that all they that are signified in writing Vento you by Amen, who is ordained o'er the affairs, and is next Vento verses, shall all with their wives and children be utterly destroyed by the sword of their enemies, without all mercy and pity, the 14th day of the 12th month the daughter of this present year. That they who of old, and now also are malicious, may in one day with violence go into the ground, and so your hereafter, cause our affairs to be well settled, and without trouble. Then Mardochæus thought upon all the works of the Lord, and made his prayer Vento him, saying, O Lord, Lord, the King Almighty, for the whole world is in thy power, and if thou hast appointed to saw Israel, there is no man that can gainsay thee. For thou hast made heaven and earth, and all the wondrous things under the heaven. Thou art Lord of all things, and there is no man that can resist thee, which art the Lord. Thou knowest all things, and thou knowest, Lord, that it was neither in contempt nor pride, nor for any desire of glory, that I did not bow down to proud Amen. For I could have been content with good will for the salvation of Israel, to kiss the soles of his feet. But I did this, that I might not prefer the glory of men above the glory of God, neither will I worship any but thee, O God, neither will I do it in pride. And now, O Lord God and King, spare thy people, for their eyes are upon verses, to bring verses to naught, they desire to destroy the inheritance that hath been thine from the beginning. Despise not the portion which thou hast delivered out of Egypt for thine own self. Hear my prayer, and be merciful unto thine inheritance. Turn our sorrow into joy, that we may lie, Lord, and praise thy name, and destroy not the mouths of them that praise thee, O Lord. All Israel in like manner cried most earnestly unto the Lord, because their death was before their eyes.
Chapter 14. Queen Esther also being in fear of death, resorted unto the Lord, and laid away her glorious apparel, and put on the garments of anguish and mourning, and instead of precious ointments, she covered her head with ashes and down, and she humbled her body greatly, and all the places of her eyes she filled with her torn hair. And she prayed unto the Lord God of Israel, saying, O my Lord, thou only art our King, help me, desolate woman, which how no helper but thee. For my danger is in mine hand. From my youth Phoebe I how heard in the tribe of my family, that thou, O Lord, tookest Israel from among all people, and our fathers from all their predecessors, for a perpetual inheritance, and thou hast performed whatsoe'er thou didst promise them. And now we have sinned before thee, therefore hast thou given verses into the hands of our enemies, because we worship their gods, O Lord, thou art righteous, nor thils it satisfieth them not, that we are in bitter captivity, but they have striken hands with their idols, that they will abolish the thing that thou with thy mouth hast ordained, and destroy thine inheritance, and stop the mouth of them that praise thee, and quench the glory of thy house, and of thine altar, and open the mouths of the heathen to set forth the praises of the idols, and to magnify a fleshly king for your. O Lord, do not thy scepter unto them that be nothing, and let them not laugh at our fall, but turn their doings upon themselves, and make him an example that hath begun this against verses. Remember, O Lord, make thyself known in time of our affliction, and dew me boldness, O King of the nations, and Lord of all power. Dew me eloquent speech in my mouth before the lion. Turn his heart to hate him that fighteth against verses, that there may be an end of him, and of all that are like-minded to him. But deliver verses with thine hand, and help me that am desolate, and which how no other helper but thee. Thou knowest all things, O Lord. Thou knowest that I hate the glory of the righteous, and abhor the bed of the uncircumcised, and of all the heathen. Thou knowest my necessity, for I abhor the sign of my high estate, which is upon mine head, in the days wherein I shew myself, and that I abhor it as a menstruous rag, and that I wear it not when I am priued by myself, and that thine handmaid hath not eaten at Ammon's table, and that I have not greatly esteemed the king's feast, nor drunk the wine of the drink offerings. Neither had thine handmaid any eye, since the day that I was brought hither to this present, but in thee, O Lord God of Abraham. O thou mighty God above all, hear the voice of the forlorn, and deliver verses out of the handies of the mischievous, and deliver me out of my fear.
Chapter 15. And on the third day when she had ended her prayer, she laid away her mourning garments, and put on her glorious apparel. And being gloriously adorned, after she had called upon God, who is the beholder and sawyer of all things, she took 2 maids with her. And on the one she leaned as carrying herself daintily, and the other followed bearing VP her train. And she was ruddy through the perfection of her beauty, and her countenance was cheerful and very amiable, but her heart was in anguish for fear. Then having passed through all the doors, she stood before the king, who sate on his royal throne, and was clothed with all his robes of mesty, all glittering with gold and precious stones, and he was very dreadful. Then lifting VP his countenance that shone with mesty, he looked very fiercely on her, and the queen fell down and was pale, and fainted, and bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her. Then God changed the spirit of the king into mildness, who in a fear leaped from his throne, and took her in his arms till she came to herself again, and comforted her with luring words, and said unto her, Esther, what is the matter? I am thy brother, be of good cheer. Thou shalt not die, though our mandament be general, come near. And so he held VP his golden scepter, and laid it upon her neck, and embraced her, and said, Speak unto me. Then said she unto him, I saw thee, my lord, as an angel of God, and my heart was troubled for fear of thy majesty. For wonderful art thou, Lord, and thy countenance is full of grace. And as she was speaking, she fell down for faintness. Then the king was troubled, and all his servants comforted her.
Chapter 16. The great King Artaxerxes vento the princes and governors of 120 provinces, from India vento Ethiopia, and vento all our faithful subjects, greeting. Many, the more often they are honored with the great bounty of their gracious princes, the more proud they are waxen, and endure to hurt not our subjects only, but not being able to bear abundance, do take in hand to practice also against those that do them good, and take not only thankfulness away from among men, but also lifted VP with the glorious words of lewd persons that were nor good, they think to escape the justice of God, that seeth all things, and hatteth Huel. Oftentimes also fair speech of those that are put in trust to manage their friends' affairs, hath caused many that are in authority to be partakers of innocent blood, and hath enwrapped them in remediless calamities, beguiling with the falsehood and deceit of their lewd disposition, the innocency and goodness of princes. Now ye may see this as we have declared, not so much by ancient histories, as ye may, if ye search what hath been wickedly done of late through the pestilent behavior of them that are worthily placed in authority. And we must take care for the time to come, that our kingdom may be quiet and peaceable for all men, both by changing our purposes, and always judging things that are udent, with more equal proceeding. For Ammon a Macedonian the son of Amadatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of versus, had so far forth obtained the for that we shew toward your nation, as that he was called our father, and was continually honored of all men, as the next person unto the king, but he not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive verses of our kingdom and life, hawing by manifold and cunning deceits sought of verses the destruction as well of Mardochius, who sought our life, and continually procured our good, as also of blameless Esther partaker of our kingdom, with their whole nation. For by these means he thought, finding verses destitute of friends, to how translated the kingdom of the Persians to the Macedonians. But we find that the Jews, whom this wicked wretch hath delivered to their destruction, are no evil doers, but live by most just laws. and that they be children of the Most High and Most Mighty Lying God, who hath ordered the kingdom both into verses, and to our progenitors in the most excellent manner. Wherefore ye shall do well not to put in execution the letters sent unto you by Ammon the son of Amadatha. For he that was the worker of these things is hanged at the gates of Susa with all his family, God, who ruleth all things, speedily rendering vengeance to him according to his deserts. Therefore ye shall publish the copy of this letter in all places, that the Jews may freely live after their own laws. And ye shall aid them, that you in the same day, being the 13th day of the 12th month Adar, they may be avenged on them, who in the time of their affliction shall set on them. For Almighty God hath turned to oive until them the day, wherein the chosen people should have perished. You shall therefore among your solemn feasts keep it in high day with all feasting, that both now and hereafter there may be safety to verses, and the well-affected Persians, but to those which do conspire against verses, a memorial of destruction. Therefore your city and country whatsoever, which shall not do according to these things, shall be destroyed without mercy, with fire and sword, and shall be made not only impassable for men, but also most hateful to wild beasts and fools for your